£2,200,000 at £2,200,000 now.
This is Phillips Auction House in London. It's holding a sale of international contemporary art. And there's an awful lot of money in this room. In recent times, the art market has seen unprecedented levels of sales. Forget Porsches and yachts. The new status symbol of choice is something to hang on your wall that speaks of your discernment and taste. The spread of the free market means that there's huge untapped potential in countries like Russia, China and India. It means that art has truly gone global and prices have rocketed.
For £4,200,000. Sold. Thank you so much.
I feel a bit like a sports commentator at a football match. You know, this is half-time, and there's a lot of excitement here, and no one knows yet what the score is going to be. We just saw a Damien Hirst go for over £4 million. We just saw this Andy Warhol, the one over there, go for £2.1 million, the hammer and sickle. And now we're going to see the Russian work going, and they've got very big reserves on them.
And I can't resist joining in. This picture by Boris Mikhailov has caught my eye. Its lower estimate matches the upper limit I've set myself, £5,000.
Laura Garbarino, 2-2, gentleman in front, 2-4, Laura Garbarino, 2-4, 3,500.
But the room is full of Russians, bidding intently.
3-8, new bidder on my left now, 3,800. £4,000, 4-2 in front, 4-2, several places now, 4-5, 4-8, all over the place now, 4-8, £5,000. The bid is on my left, 5,000. Yes, 5,000.
I can feel the rubles in the air around me.
£6,000 now, 6,000. Ladies bid on my left.
It's a striking picture, but the price has gone beyond my limit. I can't afford to get into a bidding war.
Sold, and it
Welcome to the cutthroat world of buying contemporary art.
2,800 now.
No work of art provides a more telling response to the giddiness of these cash-soaked times than Damien Hirst's For the Love of God, the most expensive work ever created by a living artist. With typical brio, Hirst adorned a skull with over 8,000 diamonds and a £50 million price tag. And, as you'd expect, he's fully embraced its potential as an icon. It has its admirers and detractors.
I think it's a wonderful commentary on death, life, art, and the art market.
I think Damien is definitely deliberately testing the limits of the art market.
That skull is an icon or a representative of that marriage between art and money, and perhaps in that sense it's a great object. I think it's obscene.
I think it should go in a casino.
But the question remains, who is it laughing at? And what does it say about the times we live in? For most of the last half-century, New York has been the undisputed capital of the contemporary art world. But that's changing. When British artist Damien Hirst's in town, everyone pays attention. He's become the flagship brand of the new wave of modern art and the hottest ticket in town. So it's no surprise to see him expand his product range at the art-friendly Prada store on Broadway. And if you like that jacket, you're out of luck. Apparently it's a one-off. But Damien's not the only Brit who's drawing the crowd. Across town, at the renowned Pace Wildenstein Gallery, people are queuing round the block to get into the new show from another hotshot British artist, Keith Tyson, whose epic new work occupies the entire gallery space on 25th Street. Tyson calls it Large Field Array, the result of 2.5 years' work with an army of helpers, or a century of man-hours, as Tyson puts it. While the crowd builds, Tyson gives me a quick preview of the piece.
It's a cross between mythology and a planetary alignment. African-American history, a photo of my family, a cube of tattooed flesh, and the molten basketball player relates to the space-time cubes, and the lollipop relates across to the girl who's up in the window. The cone itself is the Tower of Babel upside down. We've got the Secret Service of Saudi Arabia, which is used for bipolar disorder. We have a wedding cake there. The relationship to Jean-Paul Sartre fruit machine with the cigarettes, JPS, and to Jupiter that's in this box.
Yes, you've got it. Life, the universe, and everything. It certainly doesn't lack ambition.
It's all about how you define the space between these objects, because when you put two objects together, there's a relationship, and I'm exploring those relationships.
And Tyson hasn't ignored the thorny relationship between art and money either. Dominating one corner of the space is the live NASDAQ stock market feed.
It's current market information being fed into the piece.
So have you sold this yet, Keith?
Yes, it's sold, yeah.
And,
it's one piece, the whole thing. You can't buy them separately. You just...
So what are we talking here? We're talking 5 figures, 6 figures?
7 figures.
7 figures.
In a show of solidarity, Damien arrives. Rumours are flying as to who's bought the piece. I have my suspicions.
So are you the mysterious owner of this?
Yeah.
Where are you going to put it?
It's a big piece, so I can't put it in my living room.
No.
Yeah, so it'll need a space. So it's watch this space, really.
It's October in London, and a series of huge tents in Regent's Park is about to play host to what's become one of the unmissable dates in the art calendar. Anyone with even a vague interest in contemporary art descends on London for Frieze Art Fair. On day one, even legendary collector Charles Saatchi makes a rare public appearance to survey the wares. In 5 hectic days, tens of thousands of people will visit the fair, and tens of millions of pounds will be spent.
Behind the scenes, art dealers are saying, shit, God, I just sold that for 1.5 million, you know, and 2 years ago I couldn't sell that artist's work for $50,000.
The reality is that people coming from all over the world, and they're coming with all different currencies, whether it's the euro or coming from China or Russia. London seems to be the place, and somehow they don't get all the way to New York. So, in a sense, London's on the rise and New York's perhaps on the wane.
And it's not just for the rich. Frieze is also the biggest exhibition in town. There's more art to see here in a week than in a year at most museums and galleries.
I think the increased interest in art amongst the general public and amongst rich people is here to stay. I think it's become part of the cultural mix.
People say that we're in a boom market. I don't really see any evidence of a boom market. What we're seeing now is just the beginning.
The cliche is that it's not a bubble until it bursts.
Bubbly apart, it certainly wasn't always like this. In the 1950s and 60s, art was mainly the preserve of the idle rich, and what they were buying were old masters. For art lovers, intellectual challenge was to arrive on these shores in the mid-70s, and it went down like a ton of, well, bricks.
I think they're making fun of us.
I'm not really, don't respond artistically that way. I guess I still respond, I guess almost geometrically to these things.
It's a pile of bricks.
The Carl André moment was a low point for Britain's timid art establishment, as it failed to stand up for modern art, which became a term of derision throughout the country.
It's very hard to become this passionately angry at something like the Carl André bricks, unless they're hitting some deep, it's hitting a cultural nerve.
What was that nerve, do you think?
It's to do with pragmatism and practicality. It's the fact they're bricks, and they're not doing anything. Nothing is happening. It's not a house. They're not even stuck together. They're not building a tower. They're doing nothing.
£42,000.
So, for over a decade, London was little more than a provincial backwater for contemporary art. Beyond a few galleries in Cork Street, Armour and Van Dyck's remained the order of the day. But things were starting to change. In 1985, Charles Saatchi opened his gallery at Boundary Road, showcasing his collection of American contemporary art. For British art students who visited, it was to prove transformative. Out of it emerged a whole new generation of British artists, and many of them were taught by the artist Michael Craig Martin.
Students at Goldsmiths went to the shows at Boundary Road, and for the first time young British students could see the greatest contemporary art in the world being done at exactly that time, being shown in the most perfect conditions you could imagine anywhere. Well, that's a kind of miracle for kids.
A young Damien Hirst was among those inspired by what he saw. In the late 80s, he was involved in curating several seminal exhibitions in London, including Frieze and Modern Medicine. A visit to the latter was in turn to change the lives of two young Oxford graduates.
I walked in and I looked around and I thought, my God, this is amazing. I actually understand this. This is really exciting. And it just felt like there was an extraordinary burst of energy.
I mean, it was one of those moments, you could sense it, where you felt like there's really something going on here and these people are all great and we're all going to do something. You could just feel it, and I don't think those moments come along very often.
I mean, I think, to be fair, when you're in those moments, you're not even aware it is the moment. You just are excited. It's exuberant. It feels like you can do things.
Inspired by the YBAs, Matthew and Amanda launched Frieze magazine in 1991. It very quickly became the Bible of the contemporary art scene. It hit its stride from the very beginning.
The interview with Damien in the first issue, he says, you know, well, I want to get a shark and I want to put it in a vat of formaldehyde, and we just thought it sounded incredible. But it was about works that he was intending to make.
Recognition for the growing public appetite for contemporary art came in 2000, when Tate Modern opened, in, ironically enough, an old pile of bricks. London seemed to have finally come of age as an international capital of the art world. It just lacked one thing.
We'd expected someone else to do a fair, to be honest. It was just seemed self-evidently necessary in London. It just seemed like the timing was right.
Doing it in a tent in Regent's Park, it just seemed completely implausible. I mean, that it could even be blown away and that people would bring, you know, extremely valuable artworks.
People thought, no one wants to come to London, there's not much going on, you know, there's no market, there's no collectors, why would people come, you know, and they all came.
And, you know, suddenly we realised what a big sea change there'd been. And when we started, there were perhaps 3, 4 really fantastic commercial galleries. Suddenly there were 35, 40, 50. It seemed all of a sudden as if the centre was shifting.
It's because Amanda Sharp and Matthew Slaughtover really understand art and had the experience with the magazine that they did pull it off, and pulled it off better than anyone could have imagined.
I don't think it was, you know, that London was just waiting for it by any means. I think they achieved something which was quite remarkable.
And with the market so buoyant, I'd be mad not to try to get a slice of the action for myself. So I'm going to take the plunge. I've decided to indulge my inner collector and try to purchase something with £5,000 of my own money before the end of Frieze Week. One of the first lessons of buying art seems to be it matters who you are.
Buyers are not all the same. Certain buyers bring prestige to the artist's work, others don't. So gallerists are extremely concerned about placing works in the right collections or placing works in museums.
When Sadie Coles started in the late 80s, there were only a handful of contemporary galleries in London. Now, she's one of the capital's most influential gallerists.
There's a kind of hierarchy, isn't there? And I think the word is placement. In other words, that you don't have to look for customers. The customers have to sort of plead with you, and you have to decide on your hierarchy of who's going to be favoured.
Well, yes, there is that. It's very contentious because, of course, the collectors all think you're withholding in some way or just being plain mean.
When you sell to a museum, are you likely to sell at a different price to the price you would sell to a wealthy collector?
You can say no comment.
Well, I think it's fairly obvious that you make a discount to a museum. Yeah.
You have your upper tier buyers, which are the museums. Underneath that collecting base, you have individuals that set up private foundations who have dedicated art spaces. Underneath that, you have mere mortals, people who are interested in buying art and living with art.
So it's the museums, with their relatively meagre budgets, that sit at the top of the art food chain. The Tate Acquisition Fund sends a team of curators round the fair who select items for the museum's collection. This year, their mission is to bolster its international element, something acutely underrepresented for far too long.
The Tate was never very good at looking internationally, probably to do with the fact that we had limited funds, the fact that we tended not to travel as much as other people. But that's changed in the last 20 years. We have more serious collectors now in London than was the case 10 or 15 years ago. Charles Saatchi was, on his own, hardly anyone else. Well, now we have collectors, as you'll see today. They're all here and they're all buying work. And that's a big change.
So what does Frieze add to that?
Inevitably, it has had an impact on the way in which we conceive our programme. I mean, we had always been doing the Turbine Hall shows in the autumn and always had a major autumn show, but it certainly concentrates the mind.
And does it help you that the market is so buoyant, or is it actually a bit of a problem for you?
Very little of the money sticks to us, and the market racing ahead doesn't help us at all. But on the other hand, I mean, we're buying this Pavo Altona. It's a major piece. The discount is huge, in part because
they want you to have it.
Yeah, but it's also to do with the fact that the Tate has made a commitment to Altheimer previously. So it's about building relationships.
Of course, if you're not a world-class museum, you have to work even harder at those relationships.
At the art fairs, you'll rarely witness a hard sell. But what you might witness is a hard buy. And that's when the collector starts telling the dealer why they should be allowed to buy the work, how they are on the board of trustees at this museum, how they have a collection that includes that, how they're good friends with so-and-so.
And even then, the price of a work of art can depend on who you are or what you look like.
There's two theories: or you look rich and the prices go up, or you look poor and you think the prices go down. But if you look poor, they don't show you the good stuff. That's the thing.
Is that right?
So if you look like a schlepper, they say, you're not, they don't take care of you. But if you look rich, I think they boost the prices up. So it's difficult to understand how to dress.
Once you've proved yourself an acceptable buyer, the gallerists can begin their spiel.
What did you say your budget was?
I thought it was 5,000. Oh, I said I could buy this.
You could buy this, the photographs, and
the artist.
You get bedwear. Have you seen his watch?
No.
These are the expander paintings, and they're 2,000 pounds each. They're oil on canvas, and as you can see, they're a powerful optical visual image.
We try to mix the idea of minimalism and at the same time the idea of punk rock.
These are what the Scooby-Doo paintings. Yeah, he loves the paintings in Scooby-Doo, you know, where their eyes are cut out and they follow him around the room.
He did some projects for a men's home in Denmark, which is for people who, homeless people, that type of thing.
And you're not going to give me this for $5 grand, are you?
No. Okay, I can't.
It's a little out of your budget, but maybe we could work out a little discount for you. It's 6,500 pounds.
It is really great with, it's like she's farting stars and bubbles. This is $20,000.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000 pounds.
10,000 pounds, yeah. It's double.
Stretch a little bit, stretch a little bit.
I'm feeling in need of some advice. I catch up with New York art advisors, Ethan Wagner and his wife Thea Westreich. We meet at one of London's most cutting-edge young galleries, Herald Street.
Architecture and design are playing mightily in contemporary art, and Pablo is clearly investigating that architectural intervention. And this is a door that Pablo has created. And they're versions of doors with architectural interventions. This is 5,000 pounds. I don't think
the door is 5,000.
The door is 5,000 pounds.
And you get a drawing.
And you get a drawing.
So
and it's a very
your 5,000 pounds.
As if by magic, scenting a sale, the gallerists appear.
And I hear you're looking for a piece of art.
I am.
For 5,000.
You should get a doorway.
The doorway, yes, I have. That's on my list.
There are other doorways as well.
There are other doorways?
There's 10 versions of the doorway.
Oh, right.
And you would just have it reproduced by a builder or anyone that you could get, an art technician.
I suspect I already have enough doorways at home, but Thea and Ethan certainly know their onions when it comes to emerging artists. I don't want to miss out.
So can I put a reserve on
one of the doorways? Yeah, which one would you like?
Let's put a reserve instead. So I put a reserve on that.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Obviously, I'm being inundated with sort of advice, but this was really...
No, we're the advisors of yours. We're the ones.
I need some fresh air, and I know the man to offer it. Dave Hickey, the cult American art critic, is in town. I know he can be trusted to offer a forthright take on the current art boom. Every gallerist is really well versed in telling the story behind the work.
That's true. The story doesn't mean shit, you know. I mean, the art over there, 98% shit. That's about right. You know, when I go to New York, I can usually depend on 98% shit. I mean, everything is 98% shit. You know what I mean? And the good art world is an art world in which price and value attract. This is an art world in which price and value have no relationship whatsoever. That doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's a really completely different thing. And it has more to do with money than it does to do with art.
What does the value mean?
It's really easy. Quality of an object has to do with the quantity of one's response. So if I look at an work of art, all I'm saying is, how long can I look at it? Or if I'm a critic, how many words can I write about it? How much money can I get for it? And all of these are quantitative factors. And how long will it last? Will it last 100 years? Will it last 500 years? So when you're talking about value, that's what you're talking about. How important is it to the culture? The art world I came into was 6,000 marginally employed, heavily medicated people. You know, the artists. The artists and dealers and everybody. That was all there was. And now you've got people all over the world. So you have artists who have an enormous clientele in the Ukraine. They're selling $2 million paintings in the Ukraine that I couldn't get into a thrift shop in Vegas, you know? And so how do you compensate in the market for just the bad taste of Ukrainians?
In the current climate, the relationship between art and money is one that fixates the creators of art. American artist Richard Prince has responded to a commission from Frieze by shipping over his own souped-up Dodge Challenger for exhibition. It's a provocative comment on the trade show aspect of the art fair. I want to ask him about it, but he isn't available. In his place, he nominates Carly, the car's attendant.
The point is for it to be fun and funny and not take itself too seriously, you know what I mean?
So you are an installation?
I think it's for the viewer to judge, really.
I think you're an installation.
Well, thank you. I kept getting asked, everyone asked me, like, are you a piece of art? And in the beginning I was like, no. And now I'm like, yeah.
The nature of value in art is something that's always intrigued Jake and Dinos Chapman.
A work of art is an absolute expression of high capitalism because it's just about pure value. It's about something which attains scarcity value. It attains some absolutely rarefied and fetishized value, which is absolutely concurrent with notions of capital. And you wouldn't have that art without capital.
It's always been the condition of being an artist. I don't think anything's changed. I think art has always been the cherry on top of capitalism. It is probably the only object ever made that has no real value, but can attract enormous value.
I mean, one can ask the question, does it change the subversive potential of a work of art? Yes, it does, because the desire for a work of art has now changed. It's changed because it now expresses the congealed group hug of middle-class culture.
At Frieze this year, Jake and Dinos have decided to confront the theme of art and money head-on. The Queen's head, to be precise.
Last year at Frieze, you did people's portraits and you sold them for a modest price. So what are you doing this year?
This year, The only exchange of money is a temporary exchange of money. People can put their hands in their pockets, take out paper currency, and we're going to deface or improve the note and hand it back.
And are you charging people to do that?
Not at all. It's going to be a very interesting experiment in flow dynamics. You know, will people want them? I mean, maybe nobody will turn up.
But in a sense, it's going to be a demonstrable performance based upon our subordination to a thankless task.
And don't try this at home, folks. It's illegal.
I've been staying 2.5 hours here. Why not? We'll go to prison with Dinos and Jake. How about that one? But we love the Queen. I'm sorry, we love the Queen. And we respect the Queen.
It brings the idea of whether people buy art because they like it or because they think it's valuable financially, whatever. The idea is that kind of maybe people will want to kind of get one of these notes even if they hate our work.
You can still see people being slightly kind of unsure as to whether, you know, what happens in that exchange, what happens to that note. You know, if you do, is it possible for you to do something on that note that will make it only worth £15?
It just makes this kind of this nasty little fur ball of confusing kind of problems.
Rob, that's mine.
On the neighbouring stand, New York artist Rob Pruitt has set himself up in competition with the Chapmans. He's responsible for this art flea market. You never know what you might find, or indeed what it might cost.
Papier-mâché hand sculpture with sanitising wipes. £4,000.
£20,000. Oh, I'm sorry, £11,000. It was.
That's beyond my
He's
budget.
he's a fantastic artist. Wonderful.
You know, there's this unwritten rule that artists really aren't supposed to go to fairs. We're supposed to be kept from the seamy underbelly of like the commerce part of it, but I think this is very exciting. It's very glamorous.
And into the lens, please, Alan, thank you. And your best sides slightly this way to capture the light. Ooze. Ooh.
No prizes for guessing who's inside the panda costume.
Is that good for you? That's very nice.
Coming?
It's coming. Who's next?
Okay.
Sam Taylor-Wood is a grown-up YBA. What does she make of the current, almost hallucinatory state of the market?
I'd say from the beginning it's been a surreal environment to exist in, but I think what you have to do is just always keep a little bit on the outside, and something like this is fine. It just brings you back down to earth and makes it more fun again. But the whole emphasis on British art at the moment and the art world and the explosion of prices and everything feels incredibly hallucinatory, yeah.
Jake and Dinos were saying to me the other day that what they do here, they try in some way to sort of do something which slightly subverts it or makes people think twice about what it is.
Yeah, but do they really? That's what they say.
Someone has put a Jake Chapman £20 note on sale for £100.
So far, I've spent £20 on an original Chapman's work of art, and it seems like a good investment. But I'm still after something to put in my home. I can see how this could get addictive.
We as collectors, it's a competitive sport in a sense. You've got to get bitten by the bug.
You know, have you ever met a heroin addict that said, I'm not as excited about drugs lately? It just doesn't happen, though. It gets worse. You have to increase the dosage.
As of yet, they don't have any rehab centers for collectors. We're thinking of starting one.
You know, it's funny. We had some friends that were collectors, and they said, this is really getting out of hand. We have to call each other when we think we're doing something more than we should. So we said, that sounds like a reasonable idea. So about a week later, we called them. We said, I think we're going too far. And they said, what do you mean? We said, we found this artist. And we said, which artist? We told him the name of the artist. He said, you're definitely going too far. A week later, we hear that they went and bought the work of this artist. So rehab doesn't work for collectors.
I think I've always had a sort of propensity to collect things, whether as a child it was stamps or coins or I don't know, football cards.
Matchbooks, stamps,
baseball cards.
cards.
Clothes or
films or music or art. I always have been collecting something. I'm very interested in what's going on around us, whether it's film, literature, art, music, fashion, and this is just something that's tangible, something I can be a part of.
2 years ago, you could buy a Richard Prince nurse painting like this one for $85,000. Last week, one in the series sold at a Christie's auction in New York for over $6 million. That's the extraordinary speed at which contemporary art can appreciate. And for that money, you could buy a decent old master. Danny Katz is a gallerist and a collector of old master paintings and early 20th century British art.
What you're seeing is something that's never happened before that I know of in the 20th century, is that contemporary art is more valuable than old art. Antiques and medieval works of art, old master painting, sculpture, antiquities, that were the things to have. And you would have it at home or it would be in a museum. No one was going to see the latest contemporary artist in a museum. But if you bought a great old master picture or a wonderful Victorian painting, which is now completely out of fashion, you look at it every day and you think, oh, this guy knew how to paint. You might find the Damien Hirst in 20 years' time will be going for 50 quid. I doubt it very much, but it's possible. But the Rubens and the Van Goghs and the medieval sculptures and the antiquities, no, they've already shown their test of time. They'll be around forever.
So, if you had the money, why then would you choose a piece of recent contemporary art over an old master of proven worth and value?
If I just showed you a Picasso on my wall, you'd think, well, he's got a lot of money and he owns a Picasso. But if I can show you that I have tomorrow's Picasso, well, then I have something that other people can't just buy with money.
For some, just collecting tomorrow's Picasso is not enough in itself. They're so committed to the new and adventurous that they're making their collections open to the public, and like Charles Saatchi, opening their own museums.
However art historically important Renaissance painting is, and those paintings are absolutely beautiful, and the subject matter doesn't particularly excite me. There's only so many Madonnas and Childs you could look at and feel there's anything different about. And a lot of my art I buy from inside. It's something I feel something for.
It's interesting how contemporary art has become a belief structure for atheists. When you don't believe in God, you seek meaningful experiences elsewhere. You go to art fairs in a way one might attend church.
Remember Anita Zabladovich, the proud owner of Keith Tyson's large field array? She's just converted this to house some of her collection.
Tell me about this space, Anita, why you fell for it.
For many of the artists that I have been collecting, this kind of space really suits the work, and I've kept everything as it was. I just fell in love with this building, and it seems to be all really how I want it now, and it's exactly the way I wanted it. It's like, for me, coming home. It's about all these artists that you've been collecting. You know, we've been collecting 14 years, and some of them, you know, never get a chance to be shown, and we want to give them a platform, and it's not fair to keep them in storage. And if you have so much art, you've got to be able to show it. I feel it's just, you know, these artists are too young, and to keep them in a cupboard, they'll never be seen, and you want to share because it's so exciting, they're so fresh, and they're strong, you know, they're really strong. You can put them against a major piece of established art and they'll carry themselves.
It's not just galleries and art fairs that have come to be dominated by contemporary art. Increasingly, the auction houses are holding big contemporary sales to coincide with Frieze Week. And their previews are curated like exhibitions in themselves. And while big sums are inevitably fetched under the gavel, there's usually a spread of more modest items offered to appeal to the newer collector.
We like to have in our sales works that are as up-to-date as they can be and really show a panorama of what is being done today at the cutting edge of the art world.
So what are the advantages of buying in an auction as opposed to buying direct from a dealer?
If you have a young artist that is very sought after, who does 30 paintings a year, It's the gallery owner who decides who are the lucky 30 collectors to whom he's going to sell those works. Now, if one of those 30 works comes up at public auction, whoever is going to pay the highest price is going to obtain it. So it suddenly widens the field, and it becomes, in a way, much more democratic.
People who are more familiar with the business world and perhaps less familiar with all the intricate information that one might need to know about an individual work of art, they're more comfortable buying an auction.
In order to protect the value of their artists, dealers and collectors will sometimes resort to shady practices on the auction house floor.
If the dealer is watching the bidders and realizes, uh-oh, this piece isn't going to even reach its low estimate, it's going to be bought in, meaning it's going to be taken out of the sale, that is very bad for an artist. It's very common practice for either dealers to protect that artist market by buying, or collectors. Let's say I'm a collector and I have 50 Andy Warhols and one is up for auction and it's not reaching its low estimate. I'm going to either make sure I or some of my buddies go and buy to prop up the price.
The auction houses make a lot of the fact that they are the only place where you really have transparency in the market. But I think those in the know understand that the auction room is a theatrical event.
48 against you, Leonie. 48,000. 48, say 50. All done. Last chance at £65,000. Sold.
En route home, I chance upon a familiar figure in an unfamiliar location, underneath Edgware Road. It's him. It's Charles Saatchi, the collector's collector.
It's him. Him is the title of the piece. Everyone knows him, but they don't really know what him looks like. And I made him as a mini statement for myself, really, as the artist collecting the collector.
And you exhibited him here in the subway?
Yes, he's been here for over a year, pretty much, you know, and everyone just passes by and just seems to really get a good laugh out of him, actually. What's coming up now is the hymn book, which is 101 hymns.
That's H-I-M as opposed to H-Y-M.
Absolutely, 101 hymns.
Sad hymn, tag hymn,
mother hymn, miss hymn, super hymn, sensational hymn. There's loads of hymns.
When's the book coming out?
It's coming out on Thursday.
Out of the underground and off to the zoo. Zoo Art Fair. Edinburgh has its fringe, and so does Frieze. If you're really after the cutting edge of young art, this is the place to come. Ah, it's him again. Can't get away from him. Artist Ryan Gander is a rising star of the British art scene, but he's at Zoo as a gallerist with his not-for-profit Space associates. Their artists operate more at the conceptual end of the art spectrum.
How much have you got to spend?
I've got £5,000.
I've got a work for £5,000. If you buy this wheel, it'll cycle to Paris and fill it up with Paris air and cycle back and give you the wheel. So you buy the object, but you buy his journey. It's an edition of 3, £5,000. I could probably do you a small discount. And this is a diary of he buys the Sun newspaper every day, and this is the Un from Sun.
The Un from Sun.
The Un and glues it down. So this is a diary of him travelling to the newsagents every day, buying the newspaper. And if you buy it, he continues it for you and sends you the other sheets underneath. And inside here, there's page 3 girls that have been wrapped in doll's house paper. And then there's these...
Wait a minute, I still can't see the page 3 girls. Ah. What's the relevance of the sticks is my interest.
You mean you don't know what the relevance of the sticks are? In the gallery, they went on the step and they showed some navigation path for the spectator to take through the gallery.
Okay, those are the steps. It's blazingly obvious to anybody, isn't it? Those are the steps that go up to the gallery, and if you haven't noticed and didn't know that, you shouldn't be here.
Pyjamas by Matthew Smith. This one's alive.
Alive?
And there's one over there that's dead.
1,200 for the pyjamas. Did he make the pyjamas?
No, he bought them in Selfridges.
He bought... Isn't that...
Is that wrong?
No, I don't think it's wrong. No, I'm not
there's
going
a
to be
sneaky bit
unsophisticated
of
about it.
craftsmanship in the folding, though.
The folding, yeah.
We have 5 knockers, door knockers, which is the shape of Freud's brain.
That's Freud's brain, eh?
Yeah, upside down. It looks like something significantly different.
Although they provide a good mental workout, I'm not sure Ryan's conceptual chums are really for me. I make my excuses and leave in search of myself, or at least a version. A few weeks before, I came across the work of artist Boo Ritson at an East London gallery, and her unique approach to painting people. I wondered what she might make of me.
Shoes and socks on. What made you choose private eye for me?
I read that you said that you felt like the best description of you was as a detective. And I thought about it and it made sense to me. And then I thought about your face and it just made sense, it seemed to fit. You become an imposed American cultural stereotype, so you're the picture to the extent that the topography of your face provides the unique canvas, but the character imposed is other than you.
I'm really stiff, Alan, much stiffer, chest out.
Angle the top of your head to your right.
Let's speed this up a bit, yeah? We've got it. There it is. There it is. There it is.
So what happens to the picture now, Boo?
I take it to my printer, we look at all of the images that you've taken, interfere with it as a little as possible, then it goes off for framing and it's straight on the wall within a few weeks at zoo.
So that's what I call a multimedia event. And I can't wait to see it.
The moment of truth. Would I like my painted alter ego?
Well, once I get my glasses on, it does look rather astonishing. I mean, this is great, here. And look at this, I mean, it's so weird, this, the fingers.
It's really hard-boiled, it's just what I wanted.
Hard-boiled?
Hard-boiled. Yeah, hopefully, you know, they will go bigger, but this is a nice size. It's the biggest size I've done. It's a one-off size. Right. So it's 3 inches larger than all the others.
Right.
Wanted that scale.
Are you pleased?
Yeah, very. Yeah.
It's up for sale. But will it appeal to anyone?
So I'm the director of a contemporary arts museum in Stockholm, and it's quite rare that something that I see like this and it just gets such an impact. Usually it's a more careful research when you approach something that you want to buy for the collection or work with in the future, but this is just really great.
I hope it sits well in the museum and you don't regret your purchase.
No, I won't. Thanks a lot.
Boo's work has already made the cover of Art World, even if they did select the wrong image. Back to Regent's Park, and the search continues for a work of art. Decision time is looming. I have one last chance to look around.
What's the price of that? That's 4,000. This on reserve at the moment. Is it well like that?
That was a line I was beginning to hear everywhere. But then, something else catches my eye.
This is George Henry Longley. I mean, this I'm sure is out of my range. I've only got up to £5,000, but that's a beautiful piece. But it's an edition of 3 and it's £3,500. So. Is it really? Yeah. And that's a bit of a bolt from the blue, because I'm immediately struck by how beautiful an object it is. Yeah.
I mean, this origin is a ladder. That's what he was thinking about. And how to twist a ladder, how to just shift it so that it became a different object. So he closed off the ends and turned the rungs into these sort of diamonds just to move it into another place.
Where did you come across George Henry's work?
At Central St Martin's at the MA show. And I was told to go down there by Ryan Gander. Do you know Ryan's work? Yeah.
I didn't think I'd get a sculpture. I didn't think I could afford to get a sculpture. I shouldn't say that to you. But I must say it sort of immediately appeals to me. So I'll get back to you, Tom, okay? Just hold on to it for me. I will, absolutely.
There's a call I need to make. Ryan, it's Alan Yentob here. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
And I've seen the work, unexpectedly, of one of your protégés, so I hear, called George Henry Longley.
George, yeah. Have you spent your money yet?
No.
No? How much is that ladder?
Well, it's surprisingly reasonable. It's £3,500. I thought it was going to be out of my range.
It's reasonable at the moment, but it won't be that price for long, I don't think. George is great. I'd go for it, definitely.
Oh, all right, well, thanks, Ryan. I'm just about to decide. So.
Go on, do it.
Oh, okay.
Quicker.
All right.
I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. So Ryan says yes. He says it won't be that price for long. So. Okay. Decision time.
My advice to anyone collecting art: buy art because you love it and you enjoy it, but don't ever think it's going to earn you money, because it might bite you in the face.
I think with art, the more time you spend with something, the more you get back. But if you really take to it and you really like it, that's a really great visceral gut reaction to something. That's as good as any other reason.
It's about that moment when you said, it's profound, I must have it. Why, I don't know, but it's profound, you must have it.
There are scientific studies being conducted as we speak that are proving that to live with art is actually beneficial to your health. In the same way that having a dog, an animal around, makes you live 5 years longer. To engage in a dialogue with art, whether alone and or with other people, makes you happier and relieves stress, which could otherwise kill you. So it's good for you.
That was quite a pitch. I guess time will tell. If I've learned anything in the past week or so about how to get on in the art world, it's to trust your instincts. So that's what I've done. For better or worse, for richer or poorer.
A little to left.
I wonder what the children will make of it.